Hello and welcome back. And in this video, we're going to be talking about how to set autosave disabled in various ways of doing that. So in the last video, we actually saw how we could actually disable the autosave and also took the matters in our control by start defining model.save function in order to persist all the changes that has been staged by the model context. We also talked about how the function or the parameter here which actually lets us disable the autosave is just a convenient function, and in reality this property of being able to save automatically or not exists in model context. Now how do we go about doing that? So let's go ahead and check out how to set the autosave from model context, and for that we will create a container object to access the model context and make the changes there. Okay, so we are inside the app file, and what we're going to do is, first thing, we're going to create a computer property to gain access or create basically a container with our custom configuration. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And since this is going to be called on the main thread, we're going to decorate this with @main actor, and we're going to simply create app container. This is going to be of type model container. Let's create a container, a variable inside, and we're going to say model container for schema, and we're going to set the schema for Pantry item. So pantry item.self is the schema that we are creating for, and let's go ahead and return the container first, and then we're going to start configuring it for custom changes. Now at this point, what you're doing is basically you're creating a custom container. Now we're going to do this more often whenever we need to make changes from the default behavior. So whenever we want to deviate from the default behavior that is provided by SwiftData for our convenience, and we want to take more control over, we're going to actually create our own container and start setting things up there. Okay, now first thing we're going to do, or the thing that we're going to do here, is going to be we're going to reach out to container, and we're going to set the main context, which is basically the model context object defined inside the container, and we're going to basically set the autosave enabled property for that as false. Okay, this essentially has the same effect as this one, and this parameter right here, inside this modifier, eventually does the same thing as here. It's just now we are doing it instead of the model container modifier doing it. Okay, I'm going to comment the model container that we are using because we wanna bring it back for other examples. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new model container, and this time around, instead of using the model context, we're going to pass a container here. Okay, so we're going to pass the app container, and this app container is essentially going to be this container, which is the computer property created for us, and it also has the autosave enabled as false. Okay, so let's go ahead and build and run, and what we should expect is all of our functionality should work as is. It's just now we know another way of setting the autosave false. Okay, so just for the demo purposes, I'm gonna set the expiration date on all these as something that actually shows the red color, basically expired records. And let's go ahead and relaunch. Okay, so as you can see that our changes are being persisted, and they're making fine. Now I want to show you that this basically setting this true works the same way as the default model container modifier, which does not have this parameter, or this parameter is set as true. Okay, so for that, let's go into the add update pantry item, and we're gonna comment this guy out. Okay, so let's go ahead and build and run. In this time around, all of our changes should still persist, but this time they should persist automatically. Okay, so we have set all the data, all the data. Let's go ahead and build and run. And this time around, we should see all the changes being reflected accurately because everything is being auto-saved by default. Okay, let me go ahead and uncomment this because we're gonna be working with this for a little bit. Okay, so let's set this to false. All right, so now basically what happens when you disable the autosave. So disabling autosave opens up new opportunities for us. Now, new opportunities basically are some advanced use cases that you can actually work on. For instance, you can track the changes made on the data that is temporarily staged in the memory by the model context, and save all the changes at once using a single operation rather than calling the model context.save over and over. Okay, so let's go ahead and try that out. What we're going to do is we're going to comment the model save these lines right here once again. Okay, and now we've commented, and we have basically we don't have a ability to save all the changes. So although we are staging the changes, we are not saving them. Okay, so let's go ahead and update the pantry list view. Okay, and pantry list view is going to have a save all button, and the save all button is basically going to persist all the changes made by the user so far. Okay, so we're going to make a bunch of changes, and then we're going to click save all button, and that's basically going to save everything all at once. All right, okay, so we're going to be adding an H stack. Okay, and this H stack is going to be basically added right below our list. Actually, inside the list, right below the for each. Okay, so this is going to be an H stack with a button. We gotta have model context.save, and we want to basically catch any error. Okay, now for the this is the action part. The label for this guy is going to be basically a text saying save all changes. Okay, now let's set the button style. So button style as border prominent. Okay, and we also want to disable this basically on certain condition. Now we don't want to keep it enabled, just keep calling. Let's go ahead and first put this in print so the warning goes away. Okay, now we don't want to keep this button enabled all the time. So for example, if you build and run, you're going to notice that this button is always enabled. Now we might have changes, and it makes sense at that time, this button becomes enabled, but right now it doesn't give a true representation of the state whether we have changes or not. Now one of the benefit that we get after disabling the autosave feature is we can actually check if there are any changes in the model context, or in other words, basically if model context has staged any changes for us or not. Okay, so we're gonna go basically create a disabled modifier, add this disabled modifier on the button, and we're gonna have model context, and we're gonna reach out and ask for it if it has changes. If has changes is equal false, that means there are no changes. We're gonna keep the button disabled. Okay, now just for the for the UI sake, I'm gonna set the max width as infinity so the button moves in the middle of the scene, and we're gonna add some padding up and down, basically in the vertical space, so button has some breathing room. Okay, so we're gonna simply add a frame with max width, and this is gonna be infinity, and we're gonna have a padding in vertical item. Okay, and this is gonna be 20 points, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and build and run, And what we should get is a disabled save all changes. Right now we don't have any changes, so that's why it's disabled. Let's go ahead and change all the expiration dates. So I'm going to bring it to a week. I'm going to bring make coffee go a little bit further, because it's going to live on the shelf a little bit longer. Olive oil, same thing, maybe a couple of months down. Okay, and yeah, that's good. Okay, so as you can see, we have this order, and now our save all changes is lit up. So let's go ahead and save the change, and as you can see, our button is now back disabled again, because there are no more stage changes. Model context does not have any changes that are staged anymore, but all the changes that we have done so far, they are done. They are basically persisted onto the disk. So you have Uncle Chips expiring within this week, pasta bag end of the month, coffee next month, and olive oil a couple of months after. And those are the changes that we made. Now, in order to make this crystal clear, we're gonna make everything expired, and I'm gonna show you all the functionality that you did. It's actually working just fine. Okay, so everything is red. Let's go ahead and save all the changes. Let's go ahead and rebuild and run. And voila, we have all the changes being persisted just the way they're supposed to onto the disk. All right, so this is what this is one thing that he can do. Now, there are more things that he can do with these hash changes and stuff, and that's what we're going to be exploring in upcoming videos. I'll see you guys there. Thank you.